Hello, everybody, and welcome back to More Than a Muse. I'm Stauney.
I am Sadie, and I am also really excited to talk about the topic today. We're talking about stunt casting, specifically with Chicago, and how Whitney Leavitt from The Secret Wives of Mormon Wives was recently casted and made her Roxie debut. Stauney, I can't remember if we've talked about this, but you've watched the reality show Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, right?
Not actually.
No.
I haven't. I've seen so many clips and so many things about it that I feel like I know everything about it already.
Fan.
But I haven't actually sat down and watched the show. But I know you're a big fan, right?
I mean, hold on. Big fan is like an interesting way to put it, in the sense of, is the show even that good? I don't know. Jury's still out, in my opinion, on that one. The show drives me crazy. And also, like, sometimes has a very dark energy that I'm just, like, not a fan of. Whitney, though, Whitney Leavitt, I am the biggest Whitney fan. I have been an apologist for Whitney since day one. Literally, if I talk about it too much, I'll get emotional, just because, like, I see her, how she started at season 1, and now she is on Broadway. I'm like, that is a Mormon wife who went after what she wanted and was willing to be a villain on reality TV because she was playing the long game. Like, I really feel like she knew what she was doing this whole time and knew her own abilities so much and bet on herself. And now look at her. She's on Broadway, and I'm so thrilled for her.
I know. She really, I think I was listening to a podcast the other day and they were debating like which one of the Mormon wives has reached the highest level of fame at this point. And I think it's Whitney Leavitt until The Bachelorette starts.
Oh, totally. I'm sure when Taylor is the Bachelorette, that will tip the scales a little bit. But I feel like Whitney has a lot of longevity as a performer, and I'm excited to see what she does next. She wasn't always the perfect, nicest character on reality TV, but I let women be messy sometimes and let women go for their goals. And so
I feel like that ends up serving people a lot more on reality TV than being like the perfectly nice character, because a lot of the times nice characters are considered too boring.
Yeah, it's like, if you're boring on reality TV, that's probably a great sign for your personal life, but maybe not for everything else.
Yeah.
As far as if you want to keep going in the entertainment industry. So
definitely.
I don't know. I would be, if you ever do watch it, I'd be interested in all your thoughts. I won't make this a Secret Lives of Mormon Wives episode. We can move on, but I did just have to give my plug that I love my girl Whitney. I have been on Whitney's side. I remember when Dancing with the Stars came out, and that season that she was on at the time, they coincided, and it showed them going to audition for Dancing with the Stars. And she more or less confirmed that like the only reason why she was back was to get Dancing with the Stars, because they found out that they were going to come and get someone from the cast. People were so mad at her. And again, I'm sorry that a woman saw an opportunity and took advantage of it. Yeah. And she was the only one that was willing to say, hey, this is business. This isn't personal. And that's okay. And all the girls got very upset about that. So that was my opinion on it. And I love to see her thrive. I'm so glad that the reviews are doing good, and it seems like she's doing a good job.
Do you think she'll come back for the next season then?
That's a great question. I think that the one that they've already filmed, I bet she will be in it, but I would be curious of if it keeps going. And who knows, maybe she's going to eclipse it. Like, maybe she's going to get bigger than the reality show. However, I will say that if Taylor and Whitney get too big for the show, I think the rest of the girls are very nice. I think they're beautiful, of course, but I don't know if they have... I don't know if they could carry the whole reality TV show without those two people. We'll see.
Interesting. It's going on its 3rd season, right?
It's 4th season now.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Wow. That went fast.
Very fast. Yeah. And they are filming them very quickly, it seems.
Yeah. Happening all in the state of Utah.
All in the state of Utah, my home. I feel so much pride whenever I see Utah represented in the main culture, even if it's in a way that's like slightly poking fun at it. I don't care. That is my home. That is my namesake. Like, proud of them. Proud of our state doing what it does.
Doing what it does. Yeah. I think the funniest thing to me is I saw like the opening credits of the show, and it uses so much like Catholic imagery.
Oh, yes.
Which
it's
is
very
really funny to me because it's like has nothing to do. If you look at Catholic chapels and Mormon chapels, oh boy, are they different.
It's a very different thing. Yeah, very different visual stories that are being told. Yeah, it was funny. I think it was worse in season 1 too, where I was like, that's not a Utah visual. Nope. That's okay. That's okay.
Like, probably could have figured that out. Maybe some blue carpet would be more accurate than some stained glass, but
exactly. But whatever. Yeah. Who am I to say? Is there anything this week that you've been reading, watching, or anything that, I don't know, worth bringing up before we dive into the topic?
Yeah. Last night I went and saw Send Help with Rachel McAdams in
it. Yeah.
It was good. It's a very surprising show. It's not horror. I think it's listed as horror. It's not really. It's like a dark comedy.
Okay. Fun.
But it was really good. We all walked out and we were kind of like, I haven't seen a movie like that before. And she plays a very interesting character and role. It's about an employee who gets stranded on an island after a plane crash with her boss, like her jerk of a boss. And so then they have to learn how to survive together. And it's surprising. So I would actually recommend. I rated it 4 stars on my Letterboxd. So there you go.
Hey, that's a pretty good review.
Yeah. What about you? Anything?
Honestly, I wish I could say I was watching things that were very like woman-centric right now. The only show I've been really locked in on is Traitors. Don't know if you're up on that at all. Rob from Love Island. He's killing it. Love that man. A book I've been reading, though, that I am really enjoying is called Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I don't know if you've heard of that author. She has like a lot of books that a lot of people really love, and I'm finally reading one. I have a local bookshop that is right by where I live, and they're doing a challenge this year where it's every month of the year there's like a different theme, and if you go and you buy a book, they're giving you like a patch that's on that theme. So for January it was Faraway Lands, February it's Black Joy, and then if you complete every single month at the end of the year, you get like a tote bag that you can put all of these patches
cute.
on.
What a fun idea.
Super cute. Yes.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is just go and buy a book once a month. So January, my pick was The Poppy War, and I'm still working on it. It's a pretty dense fantasy book, but it is really good. So would recommend it if anyone's looking for a fantasy series.
That's so cool.
Shout out to the bookshop in Nashville.
That. Yeah. I also wanted to bring up one thing that I'm doing this year that I'm very proud of myself for. I'm learning to play bass guitar.
You are, and it's so cute.
My husband bought me a bass, and
shout out.
Yes, and it's sitting in our room on a little guitar stand, and I've been playing every day.
Yay!
And am I good at it? No.
You just started. Who cares?
One day I will be.
I'm obsessed with this. I can't believe I didn't bring that up at the beginning of the episode. Are you just like going to YouTube? Like what songs have you been learning? What's been your mode so far?
I bought a little like Bass for Beginners Kindle book that had the little sound clips on it so that I could figure out the beginning of everything.
That's a great idea.
And then I've been looking on Songster for like tabs and stuff for other things. I'm going to learn some Taylor Swift, of course, because Life of a Showgirl has some really fun bass lines. Yeah, so I was like, I'm gonna mess with these. And
amazing.
Yeah, so of course Mo picked it up in 2 seconds and was already playing parts just looking at the tabs, and he was like, oh, this is easy. And I was like, you suck.
Hold on,
put down my pink bass
though, right?
I know. Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, caveat that real quick.
He's been playing guitar for years, so it's he's a lot easier for him, and meanwhile I've only ever played piano and ukulele, so a little bit different. But
I'm loving this for you. You're inspiring me to. I bought a bass from one of my friends when they upgraded a couple years ago, and like I learned how to play Fortnite by Taylor Swift on it, and then I was like, cool, that I'm done. I need to pick it back up because I agree, bass guitars are the coolest instrument. So
it's so much fun. I'm gonna figure that out. It'll be amazing. A new journey. Yep.
Please keep us updated on the bass guitar journey. Do you want to introduce our topic for the day? Kind of give us the intro.
Let's talk about our topic. Like you mentioned at the beginning, it's about stunt casting, and you might be like, oh, like a stunt man in a movie, and no, for some reason it's named that, but it's a little different. Stunt casting is the use of a gimmick or publicity stunt to fill a role in television series, film, or theater production. And it can range from a non-actor celebrity to a glorified cameo appearance to real-life relatives portraying fictional family members. So basically, it's casting someone unexpected for a role, essentially. And usually that someone is a celebrity. So it's also sometimes coined as star casting. One of the most popular television examples I can think of is like the episode of Friends with Brad Pitt, where he just like create the whole storyline around Brad Pitt coming in so that they have Brad Pitt in an episode with Jennifer Aniston and everything. And did it have anything to do with the rest of it? No. Does it work because Friends is just like that? Yes. But like they wrote the whole episode with the intent of having Brad Pitt come in.
Totally.
So that would be stunt casting.
I think the funny element of stunt casting as well is it breaks the fourth wall in a way. Like in that example with Friends and Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt, it's almost like the bit is who they are in real life and why they are there. That's actually a part of the story they're telling. Yes. Especially, we'll talk about it with Chicago, of like the women that they choose, it is often aligns with the character of Roxie. So I think that's an interesting thing about stunt casting is when they do that. Yeah. And I think it's like an artful thing in a way. Like it's fun how they can blur art in real life and make a statement with stunt casting. Like I think it can be an effective tool in some ways.
Oh, definitely. And I think if it's used correctly, then yes, it's one of the most, like, the coolest things that you can do. Because the whole point of it is that you're casting them for who they are. So you want to create, like, a character and a role or have them fill that role that, like, fits who they already are. Obviously, the point of stunt casting is to generate media attention or garner studio support for financing a project. For example, there was like the 1978 version of Superman only was able to get studio support after the producers enlisted Marlon Brando and Gene Hackman to play roles. So it happens a lot more in movies, I think, than to get backing from studios. Whereas I think in theater, mainly, I think it's more for the audience.
It's like in movies, the way that we promise we'll make money.
Yes.
But I mean, I guess in the end, it is ways to just make sure that money is and tickets are being sold and whatever. But it's almost like at what stage does that stunt casting happen in? Like before it's even made to make sure it's made, or a way to garner new interest?
Yes. In musical theater, stunt casting gets a bad rep for the most part because it's casting celebrities from either like television, film, or pop music that have very little theater experience. And because the theater is such a different realm, a lot of the times people are like, it doesn't translate over the same way. So you can't just pull people from other realms of the arts and throw them into the theater and expect them to do well. But it happens. And celebrities are often cast for short engagements of a few months with the hope that the draw of a recognizable name will boost ticket sales, extend the life of the show run, and continue their show. One of the earliest versions of stunt casting in theater was with the 1994 revival of Grease. They gave the role of Betty Rizzo to Rosie O'Donnell, then best known for her acting on television and film, and then also had a bunch of other series of celebrities, including Debbie Boone, Sheena Easton, Jolie Fisher, Debbie Gibson, Linda Blair, and Brooke Shields, all playing different roles in Grease. And then, of course, Chicago is famous for its stunt casting. It doesn't more than any other show, which we'll talk about. But it's also probably why the show has the longest running revival on Broadway. It's still going in 2024. And that could be because of the stunt casting, which is particularly effective with tourists who aren't going to be looking at like Broadway show reviews and be like, oh, this is the hottest new up and coming show. They want a headline show. They want a name they recognize. They want to see something that's memorable. And for that, stunt casting is extremely effective.
For a brief history of stunt casting before Chicago. So there's the silent film era back in the 1890s to the 20s where there's performers like Chaplin and Keaton that had performer-based fame before they were ever on film. So the studios leaned into that visibility to sell movies. Then there's that stage to screen crossover where popular stage stars were cast in films to bring existing audiences along with them before the modern celebrity crossover. And then, of course, the Hollywood studio system, which is by the 1930s and beyond, studios began marketing films around star names as a selling point, and a structure that later stunt casting and Broadway directly taps into. I think the most like random modern example I can think of is like when they are taking TikTok stars and putting them in movies. Like Addison Rae was in that rom-com and different things like that. Just different ways that they can try and cross promote and get new audiences.
It's funny because I think stunt casting technically is also categorized as, you could think of Wuthering Heights with the Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie and be like, oh, that's technically stunt casting because they grabbed these big names that maybe don't fit the traditional roles of the characters, but it'll garner more media attention. But I think of it differently because they're actors, they're acting in a movie.
They're
like
meant
that's
to
what
be actors. That's their primary focus. Yeah.
So it feels more right, like you said, with TikTok stars or something, like grabbing someone from a different realm or like a TV reality star and throwing them in like a movie and being like, act. Do this.
It's like, wait, but they don't normally do this.
Yeah.
That's like, a good point. I think the key to stunt casting is this what they usually do? And if the answer is no, then that's a stunt cast. Yeah. Versus just like you said with Wuthering Heights, like trying to have a star in there to make sure people care about the movie. A little different.
Yeah.
But with Chicago specifically, so Chicago made its debut on Broadway in 1975. It's a Prohibition-era musical that kind of pokes fun at the criminal justice system that centers around two leading ladies, which is Roxie Hart, who is a ditzy blonde that is trying to avoid prison time for killing her man. And then there's Velma Kelly, who is a jaded performer that's stuck in jail for murdering her husband and her sister. And they are drawn together in this pursuit of ultra stardom. They are like both competing and vying for the spotlight by manipulating their criminal records to stay in the press. And I think, again, why Chicago works is like they're trying to manufacture this fame and do their own stunt casting. If I get famous for being this whatever in jail, when I get out, because I'm going to be proven innocent, I'm going to have all this attention on me and I'll be able to use it for my career. Have you seen the movie Chicago?
A long time ago.
You should rewatch it. It's a great movie. I watched it like a month or two ago because Jordan had never seen it. And I was like, all right, sit down. We got to watch Chicago. Composed by John Kander, a book by Fred Ebb and Bob Fosse. It's like a very jazzy musical, earned 11 Tony Award nominations, including the one for the best musical. Broadway legends like Gwen Verdon and Liza Minnelli were Roxie Hart during its original run. But despite the show's rich legacy, the current production of Chicago, that was a revival that opened in 1996, is mainly often only talked about for its ambitious and maybe questionable stunt casting ploys to some people. This was something interesting to learn. Like, I thought it was like just Roxie Hart, but apparently other ones have done this. But there's like even the role of matron Mama Morton with her one solo has had stars from Jinx Monsoon to Wendy Williams. Incredible. And then, of course, most recently for Whitney Leavitt to be Roxie Hart. I think it's most often that Roxie Hart is the stunt casting, but I think that they use, like I mentioned, I was surprised to learn it, that they use it all.
There was actually this article talking about how they like pick the characters for Roxie, and it was super interesting. The lead producer, Barry Weisler, talked about it, and he just said, Chicago is different. It welcomes people constantly. There's never a locked door where we're concerned. The revivals lasted for decades, and he talks about that with the stunt casting particularly, saying the casting of the show falls in line with the show itself. We talk about celebrity and how celebrity is glorified, and yet in a way we glorify it. You don't have to have training in order to do it. They talk about the role is just the willingness to wear a black cocktail dress and learn a few things. And you don't have to dress up as a spoon or a fork. You don't have to dress in green paint and sing through the stratosphere. You can rehearse for 4 weeks and you can do a quick 6-week run. You can get your Broadway debut in Legacy in under 8 weeks, which I think is like a really interesting way to market the role, to be like, oh,
totally,
lead in this play. You just need 4 weeks of training to learn some steps, put on a black dress, and we'll get you on that stage. But he talked about how he does it. So once or twice a year, he goes to a newsstand. He buys $400 worth of magazines like Ebony, People, Variety, you name it, hands them out to his staff along with black pens, and then they just start circling everybody and writing the role that they think they would fit next to them. And they do
Fun.
it for Roxie, Velma, Billy, Amos, and Mama, like the 5 leads in the play.
Mm-hmm.
And then the name goes into a spreadsheet, which goes to the marketing team and producers who score the names from 1 to 5. 1 is terrible, 3, 4, and 5 prompt him to pursue interest and availability. And then they
That's cool.
basically start reaching out to people. And he said some stars will consider it for multiple years before they like say yes. Some people will immediately jump on the opportunity and be like, yes. I would love to be Roxie. And then they like, I think they might have a little bit of an audition process, maybe, but he didn't mention any of that. So I think they're doing a lot of just reaching out to people and casting. And Roxy's been kicking it for more than 11,000 performances on Broadway, despite recession, storms, pandemic, Oscar-winning adaptation. It's the longest-running show on Broadway, behind only the now closed Phantom of the Opera, which just barely closed.
Crazy. Yeah.
In all, the musical has been seen by more than 32 million people across 36 countries and in more than 500 cities. He even talks about how like they changed Roxy from actor to actor. He'll have them come in and do their poses or put on a little bit more of what they would do with their flair. And he's very adamant about making sure that every Roxy is more about the person who's doing it than who Roxy is as a character, that they like infuse the actress into the character of Roxy and make sure that it's them and their persona and everything that adds into it. It's really interesting. And so he like argues that you could call it stunt casting, but there's an authenticity to it that makes Chicago different than any other Broadway show. So
that's the thing that I think so interesting about Roxie Hart specifically, is because that character is fame obsessed. She's also like clunky. Like she doesn't go into jail from being like a star performer. Like she was a failed performer who is still seeking that fame. So it almost in a way tells the story better if there actually is like an obvious difference between the other main character and Roxy. I think it actually works. I know they do it for a lot of characters, but I think Roxy and specifically, it's made for stunt casting. Like it almost tells the story even more, and it's fun. To continuing though, is stunt casting necessary? Of course, Broadway could survive without it. But the truth is, it is a financial decision. The reason why it's been running so long is because it continues to make money and it continues to have filled theaters. If the show isn't making money, unfortunately, they can't do that. And modern Broadway is a very extremely expensive and also a tourism-driven industry. And so that's why stunt casting can be a really beneficial thing for these legacy shows. I think before, obviously, there's maybe more of a focus on trained actors. Maybe production costs were lower and just like the economics were different. But celebrity culture has expanded. It's been interesting to see different ways that other musicals have used social media to market their musicals. So for example, Dolly Parton, she created a new Dolly musical. And what they did is they said that they were going to do like a nationwide search for Dolly where you could audition via social media and then be invited to New York to formally audition. And a lot of these videos went very viral. People were excited about that. And I saw at least a lot of videos of people singing a Dolly song. I think the only requirement was like just sing a song that's sung by Dolly. And in the end, I think the people that they ended up casting seemed to be people that had been workshopping the show for years and years. And there was definitely a backlash there of, okay, you were never actually going to cast someone from these online auditions. Who's to say though, a show can last forever and maybe in the future they will take somebody that auditioned there. And I know they're still developing this musical. It was playing in Nashville last summer and it's fun. One of my friends went like at the beginning of the run and then another friend went at the end and talking like it was a totally different show. Like they were still workshopping, still trying to figure out how to make it most effective. But still an example of not stunt casting, but a way that they're trying to garner interest in a show. Another thing is Charlie D'Amelio was an ensemble member in & Juliet last year, which people, you know, of course were upset about because what is she doing taking the place of a Broadway actor?
Yeah, it's smart in that instance. They made her an ensemble member, I think, because
I
she's
think so
like more
too.
known for her dancing and everything. So like,
Cater to their strengths.
Yeah, that one doesn't bother me as much. I heard
I
though
agree.
that Cameron Dallas, whoever he is in Mean Girls, he was Aaron Samuels.
Yes.
And the critics hated that one. They said it was horrible. Like every article I read was like, this was the worst stunt casting choice ever made.
That's the thing with the stunt casting is I think that people want you to fail. And so I think that it has to be so carefully done in a way to not set up that person for failure. Like, I think if it would have come out that Whitney was a terrible singer, or the last Roxie casting that I was super aware of was Ariana Madix from Vanderpump Rules. If she would have done terrible, I do think people would have loved it. Like, I think they would have eaten her alive and been like, see, this is why it's horrible that she's taking the place of these actors. But they ended up doing a good job. But you have to, like you said with Charlie D'Amelio, you have to play to your strengths. So it's probably good that she was in the ensemble because that's where she could shine, actually.
Definitely, yeah. That is something to think about, is that do we think women get more criticism for stunt casting than men do?
That is a good question. The truth is, I'm trying to just think of another example of a man that was in a similar situation. Do you have one, or can you think of one?
I can't think of one off the top of my head. I was trying to find.
Is it because that people are less mad about it? I know Hugh Jackman started in Music Man, but also I know that Hugh Jackman started out in theater. And like Daniel Radcliffe went back and did a Broadway show. But again, it's an actor being an actor. So it's not a stunt casting. It's just a star going back and doing something maybe a little bit smaller than what they're best known for. But yeah, I don't know.
There was one in Dear Evan Hansen that someone talked about that they didn't like with a man. But the thing is that I feel like the names aren't as well known. Like, you say Charlie D'Amelio, I'm like, yeah. You say Cameron Dallas, I'm like, I don't know who that is.
Like, maybe it's just the wrong target demographics here. Maybe. I don't know who these are.
I'm like, maybe I just don't pay attention enough to men. So if they list them off, I'm like, I don't know.
I have no idea.
I know
but also, maybe it's just that it's not like being brought up in public conversation enough. Like, less people are debating if they should be given that opportunity. And they're just like, yeah, sure, maybe.
I know that Billy Ray Cyrus ended up with a role in Chicago at some point in his career.
That's crazy.
And there was like one or two sentences where it was like, yeah, maybe it wasn't the best choice. And then it moved on. Whereas I feel like some of the Roxies get torn to pieces over their performances.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. It's like kind of one of those things where I'm like, is it just that they're casting more women in roles? So like we hear about stunt casting a lot more often with women because they're more in the sphere of celebrity and public opinion? Or do people care more when women are given
they
roles?
talk about it more?
Yeah.
That is
then
a really
are more
good question.
critical of it.
A great point. I'm not sure because, like, I can't even think of men who have been in stunt casted situations. And like you said, is it because I don't pay attention to what men are doing, or because people don't talk about it? That's so funny.
Yeah, I don't know. In Chicago, it says most of the talked about stunt casts have been women who were in scandals, reality TV personalities, or pop culture figures. So it's like they're more well known in pop culture in general, and so maybe that just makes it more of a mark on the actual stunt casting role itself.
I don't know either, but along with that, with you talking about how they usually actually do cast some controversial women, let's talk about some of the most popular Roxie Harts that they've stunt casted. First up is Brooke Shields, who is an American actress, model, who became internationally famous as a child star and had a big career across film, TV, and stage. There's Melanie Griffith, who was an American film actress who rose to prominence in the 1980s, actually is an Oscar nominee, so obviously she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
Christy Brinkley, who is a supermodel and entrepreneur. Ashley Simpson, who is a singer and songwriter and actress. Pamela Anderson, which I would have loved to be able to see her do Roxie Hart.
Everything I read, she did incredible from what
I
I
am
said. Like,
sure she did
yeah.
incredible. I love everything I see from that woman. Brandy Norwood, who is an American singer and actress who had a successful R&B career. Also, we talked about her last time because we talked about Cinderella last week.
Yeah.
So shout out to
And
Brandy.
hers was also widely acclaimed. Everyone was like, Brandy, like it wasn't even really a stunt cast at the end of the day. She went in and just killed it.
And killed it. Totally. Yeah. Mel B, popular from, of course, as Scary Spice in the Spice Girls. Rumor Willis, who is an actress and singer, also known for being Bruce Willis's daughter, but also an actress and singer in her own right. Alyssa Milano, who's an American actress and activist who is from a long-running television show, Charmed, in the 1980s and 90s. I haven't seen that. Have you?
Yeah, I actually have. I really like Charmed.
I need to.
It's about 3 sisters who are witches.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cute. Erica Jane, who is from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and a pop performer. Classic. And of course, the one that I'm the most familiar with is Ariana Madix from Vanderpump Rules, who after her big cheating scandal, she got on Broadway as Roxie Hart. It was incredible.
One that shocked me is actually Melora Hardin, who is not Pam. What's her name? Michael's girlfriend. His boss in the office.
What's her name
in the show?
Jan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jan.
That's crazy.
She did a run as Roxie in Chicago on Broadway.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And they said she did a really good job. She has like ballet background and everything. So it like converted over really well. But like how random that I was like,
that is so random.
Jan from The Office.
The thing with a lot of this like criticism though is like oftentimes performers like they're not performers on accident. Ariana Madix was a reality TV star, but she actually got her degree in like theater and moved to LA to be an actress originally. Whitney Leavitt became a social media influencer, but she got her college degree in ballroom dance. So like, I think there's like another thing to keep in mind where it's like, when you're like, oh, they don't deserve it. And it's maybe they didn't get famous for what they originally sought out to, but I bet all of these people have some kind of singing, dance, acting training in their background. It's just that it's not at the forefront of their careers anymore because they're performers. Like you can't stop a performer from performing.
That's such a good point. Yeah, it's just like the DNA is there regardless of how it ends up manifesting. So
totally.
Yeah, that's cool.
What do you think about it? We've touched on some of the praise, which is the fact that it can keep shows performing longer than they maybe would have because it's bringing new audience, bringing new money. There's also the criticism of it's taking away actors who roles from really hardworking and new and upcoming actors. I think there's two sides of it. What do you think though? What's your thought of a stunt casting?
I'm fine with it. I feel like as long as it's smart.
Totally.
As long as they're like picking people who fit the characters that they're casting, even if that's typecasting, it's more helpful than like grabbing someone really random for a role that doesn't fit and trying to shove them into it just for the name. Yeah, like I think it works. And even didn't Colleen Ballinger do a run of Waitress on Broadway too?
Oh my gosh, she did. Yes, I'm like remembering all of these moments now.
So random. But I think I read in one of the articles that someone spent like all of their money to go to New York to see Colleen Ballinger do Waitress on Broadway.
Wow.
And that's someone who probably wouldn't have gone to Waitress on Broadway in another scenario. So like at the end of the day, you're getting people into the theater, you're exposing more people to Broadway shows. It's not as common for people to go see plays anymore. It's just not as familiar of a thing. Like we still have people going to the movies, but even movie theaters are having a hard time filling seats right now.
True.
Yeah, like people just aren't really going to stuff like that anymore. And so if this is something that's going to keep theater alive and keep Broadway going, isn't that something we should all be happy about as long as it's done? I don't know. I saw a lot of stuff that was like they have to cast someone with a theater background, and I don't think that's absolutely necessary. I think it's smarter to cast someone with some form of arts background like we've talked about. But like, I don't think it should always be like you must have a theater pedigree in order to be stunt cast.
I think another part of it too is like we talked about earlier, like Broadway in New York, it is a tourism industry. Like, of course, there are a lot of people that live in New York who probably love going to the more niche, unknown, new performances. But if you are a tourist who's only going to go to New York a handful of times in your entire life, when you finally get to go to a Broadway show, you're going to go to Hamilton, Wicked. You're going to go to the obvious ones that you've heard amazing things about.
Mm-hmm.
Or you'll go maybe try a newer one that you maybe wouldn't have gone to because you know somebody who's going to be playing with it, and it adds like a new exciting element to it.
Yeah.
So of course, like maybe it does threaten the artistry of what's going on, but the other side of it is it's like maybe the person who goes to Chicago to see Whitney Leavitt falls in love with theater, and then they're like, wait, let's go try a different show tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's just a really good entry point for people. And like, you do have to keep your art accessible if you want it to continue on. And I think this is just like a new way of creating a barrier of entry so that people become interested, because you don't accidentally become someone who like knows every single play that's currently playing on Broadway and the playwrights and all of the Tony nominees. Like,
not.
You don't accidentally fall into it. So I think it's a cool way to, like I said, help people see if they might like that.
Yeah. Also, I think a major thing is it gets press.
Yes.
Which is incredible. Like, we're talking about Chicago after it's been on Broadway for how long? Because
exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Because Whitney Leavitt's in it. Like, it shows up. It's on my TikTok. Like, people are talking about Chicago, and critics will go and see the show to see how the Roxie
doing.
Hart does.
How's it still going?
Yeah. So it gets attention. Like Leigh Michelle, like we talked about with her too, and Funny Girl. Like, people are gonna go. They'll pay attention to what's happening. So
yeah,
I don't know. It also, like, weirdly enough, makes me think, okay, I'm on ballet TikTok. Are you?
Oh, no, I'm not there, but tell me more.
There was like this huge discourse about ballet influencers and if they're like hurting or helping the craft, because they like film classes. And a lot of people go to like adult ballet classes, and they were talking about how it probably takes so much courage to even step into one of those as an adult. And then you have people filming. And is it like helping or hurting? And a lot of people were talking about how like they do it because it's an entry point into ballet and will help people start thinking about, oh, maybe that's something I could do. I didn't even know they had adult ballet classes. But then other people talking about how like you could get up the courage to go to ballet for the first time and then step in, and then you're being filmed. And is that going to hurt you from wanting to go back?
That's true.
But it turned into this whole thing about what is going to keep the craft of ballet alive. And no one could agree. And the whole time I was reading this about stunt casting, I just kept thinking about ballet over and over again. And well, it's keeping the craft alive, and then but it's hurting the artistry. Like all this stuff. And I just think at the end of the day, like, it's going to be one of those things that people just can't agree on. And
there's there's arguments on both sides.
Yeah.
That is interesting about ballet TikTok. Now I want to go open my TikTok and search ballet and see what I can find.
It's fun. There's ballet influencers. They showed the whole prep and everything of getting ready and performing the Nutcracker.
Cute.
And the Nutcracker keeps the ballet industry going for the rest of the year because everyone goes to see the Nutcracker in December.
Again, point of entry. Like, you gotta keep doing those things if it financially makes it so you can do the rest of the year.
I'm sure the ballerinas get sick and tired of performing the Nutcracker every year because it's the only thing anyone ever goes and sees. But at the end of the day, that's point of entry. It's gonna get people going, and that's the one ballet they can guarantee on to sell tickets. But it was. It's an interesting place to be. I really enjoy ballet TikTok. Would highly recommend.
All right. Anyone who's listening, I would love to hear your thoughts on stunt casting as a concept, and also what do we got to do to keep all these art mediums alive? And I guess that's always up for debate.
Yeah.
To wrap up this episode, I am going to do our Nemezini moment, which, quick definition. So in the past, we have had episodes where we focus just on individual artists. For our content this year, we're going to be stepping a little outside of that and doing less biography focused episodes and just keep them all as discussions. But of course, we always want to be shouting out women artists that we think deserve a little bit more credit and love. So that's what this segment is. And this was a book that I actually read in December that, had we been recording, I would have gone on a huge rant about. And I'm going to do my best to minimize this rant. And also maybe we'll do a future episode. Okay. But I read a book called Anita DeMonte Laughs Last. And it was recommended to me by a friend. And it was a very great recommendation because the whole premise of this book is that there are kind of two parallel stories being told at the same time. One is an artist from 30 years previously with a college student who in real time discovers this artist, and is inspired by her and ends up doing her thesis on her. So, of course, my friend, knowing about this podcast, she was like, I feel this is right up your alley. And she was correct. Yeah. And I read the book and I really liked it. And then after I was done reading the book, I Googled it. And as I was filling in the name, the suggested search was Anita DeMonte's Laughs Last controversy. And I was like, oh no, like what was the controversy? So here's what the controversy was, which is that the novel is inspired by the very real life story of an artist named Anna Mendieta, who mysteriously died. And I'm saying mysteriously with the biggest quotations ever, because she definitely was pushed out of a window by her husband, who was also like a minimalist artist at the time, but he got away with it because he said it was suicide. The craziest story ever. And then when I looked up her real story, I was like, wait, this is like eerily similar to the book that was promoted as fiction. Now, Anna Mendieta, who is the real artist, she was a performance artist, a sculptor, and a painter that was best known for incorporating her own body into her work and set in nature.
I've seen her work. I know her name.
It's beautiful. It's incredible.
I did not know she got pushed out of a window.
It's a horrible story, and the husband basically got away with it. Okay. The craziest thing, though, is like, the author didn't reach out to the estate about this. Like, she didn't get any permission to write this story. And so this is what caused the controversy, is because there are incredible parallels between the protagonist in the book and the real life that were so close and then like sometimes off. So it just blurred the lines between the fictional story and then the actual tragic events. The estate was not happy with this, because the book is presented as a work of fiction and it's marketed as like being the forgotten nature of the artist, which then like the family, I think, wasn't really happy with the way that she was being presented as like a forgotten artist. I'm sure they've done like a lot of work to try and maintain her legacy, you know? And so I think that they had problems, of course, with that. Now, granted, the author did say that she was wanting to be respectful, viewed her work as honoring Anna's influence, and the artist should not need permission to create art. I think jury's out on that one, because I think she really did toe a line there of, I just think, when you don't get the like permission of the estate or anything, and then it's so close to the real story, like I'm just like, I think that's a little, I don't know if I like appreciate the ethics of that.
Well, it could have been so easy for her to actually use the real story, reach out to the estate, get the facts right. It sounds like it's a interesting enough story that it could have helped.
You make enough changes that like you can say, oh, it was inspired by it, because like it was so closely inspired by it that like even with like how her body was found and like where the body landed and like how many stories up, like those things, if I'm remembering right, were like all the same. So it's like you could have made it like an artist who gets murdered by her husband and he gets away with it. There's ways that you can explore it, but it just became very, I don't know. I felt a little bit icky about the book after that when I realized that the family was not okay with the book. Like it definitely added a different layer to it.
That's the worst.
So anyways, shout out to Anna the real
Yeah.
artist. And I'll be honest, like, the book is good. It was a great book. It was a great read. And I think it had some like thoughtful parallels between the college student in real time who was really passionate about art history.
Mhm.
And like originally she sought out to do her thesis on the man. And then through her research found out on accident that he was accused of murdering his wife, and became very upset with her professor of like, how could you not bring up these key points of his biography? Very interesting questions, of course,
Yeah.
to consider. So I think the book was good. It felt interesting to me when I realized that the estate of the actual artist it was based on was not very happy and how
Man.
closely it aligned with it. So
Yeah,
again,
that's crazy.
questions of like ethics and what's allowed and what's not, and I don't have the answer. But
I don't either.
the real
But,
artist is
yeah.
incredible.
Yes,
So go look at her work.
Really incredible work.
Anyways,
Yes.
next week we are going to be doing an episode that is going to be a new format for our last episodes of the month, where we're going to talk a little bit about updates in art news for the month, and also do some overview on our movie of the month and also our album of the month. Do you want to quickly just talk about what the movie and album are, in case anyone wants to join us in the discussion forum?
Yes. Okay, for the movie, we obviously had to pick Wuthering Heights. It's
Yep.
everywhere.
Yep.
So we will be going to see that, and then we'll be talking all about our thoughts and feelings and everything. So the title will probably reflect that, just because that's what everyone's talking about right now.
Yep.
But more so than just that, we're also going to be listening to The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill and talking about that. We've done a whole episode on Lauryn Hill in the past, right?
I think we've touched on her. She's come up many times in the topics that we've done.
For Black History Month, obviously, we wanted to have a focus on that. It's an incredible album. So we'll be talking all about that and our thoughts and feelings and everything regarding that. And this will be a thing that we'll be doing every month moving forward. So we're really excited about it. It should be really fun.
Been an effort to expand our own horizons and make sure we're actually consuming either the art from the women that we've learned about in the past, or seeing movies that reflect women's stories. So I'm excited to be doing this now.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be really fun. And it will go hand in hand with our newsletter that we have every month too. So don't forget to sign up for that if you want to, our Substack. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect. We will be back next week. Go check out our merch on our website. We are both wearing it. We're both matching. Of course we are.
Yes. Join the Hysterical Society, everybody.
Join the Hysterical Society and leave a review, comment, come say hi on Instagram, and we'll see you next week.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.